It's time to get loud. Welcome back to Loud Talk with Lavi, a podcast where we break down the walls of beauty standards one flaw at a time. And guys, I have missed you so much. I'm finally back in my recording space here. I took a full hiatus from this podcast and came out with an episode last week, which you guys would have saw, kind of full life update, what I'm doing, where I'm at, because it's been a hot minute. And today we are doing our first guest episode since I've been back. So if you haven't caught up, I moved to Vienna for 4 months. I was traveling around Europe for a total of 5 months. So it has been a very long time since I had been home. And the podcast, I wanted to shift it up and kind of rethink about where I want to take it. But honestly, I really like this space, and it is a community I want to grow with the full Loud Talk channel. And I just got that kick of inspiration again to be okay, let's keep doing this. Let's bring back these episodes because you guys know I'm a certified yapper and I have a lot to say. And today we have a really exciting guest, one of my mutual friends on social media that I've been following for a while, loving all her content. She really focuses on acne positivity, healing, holistically. She's, made such an amazing improvement with her skin. She's gone from really severe cystic acne to beautiful clear skin, and it is insane seeing her journey and how she approaches healing from really a root inside out type of situation, focusing on nutrition, routines, de-stressing, and everything that she's learned throughout her journey. So I'm really excited to have her on, really excited to learn from her, and for you guys to hear everything she has to say, and just our conversation around creating those routines and finding that balance for healing hormonal imbalances more from the inside out, and kind of navigating that journey because it can sometimes be very overwhelming. So without further ado, let's get right on into this episode. Make sure to subscribe as we post new episodes every single week, and check out the video version on YouTube if you're not on the Loud Talk channel already. But yeah, love you guys, and let's get loud. It's time to get loud. Welcome back to Loud Talk with Lavi, a podcast where we break down the walls of beauty standards one flaw at a time. And today I have a very special guest joining us. Please give a warm welcome to Miss Haley. Thank you so much for joining me on this
Hi.
episode.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to get to know more about you and yeah, just share my story and yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We were chatting for a few minutes here before we started rolling with the cameras, and we've been mutuals on socials for a while, and I feel like I already know you, so I already know this podcast episode is going to be so good. But yeah, so you're a content creator, but tell me a little bit more about you, how you started content, and all of that.
Sure, yeah. So I actually started during COVID, quarantine. We didn't have that much going on. And I always knew that I liked being in front of the camera, but I just didn't know how to put myself out there. So I actually started with fashion content in 2020. I
Nice.
became really big in thrifting and trying to find affordable clothes. So I started with fashion content and I did that for about 2 years. And then my senior year of college, that's when I started really breaking out. And I felt super alone and isolated. Everybody around me was perfect skin, nothing was wrong about them. And
Right.
I just felt super alone with my acne. And I had some acne previously in high school, but it was never to the extent of the hormonal and cystic acne that I was experiencing. So I decided to kind of do a content shift from fashion to beauty and skincare and acne relatability content. I feel like I kind of started in hopes to feel less alone for myself,
Yeah.
because I just didn't see a lot of people around me that had acne and other hormonal issues as well. So I was, just posting for myself, but then over time as I was having people comment and people were DMing me, I was like, wow, this actually could be something that would also help others feel less alone too. So I was, doing fashion and it was great, but I think now I've really found my niche and on social media, I do still love fashion personally, but
Mm-hmm.
more so I feel like my purpose on socials is to spread acne positivity, to talk about acne safe makeup, to talk about hormonal changes that I've made to help clear my acne. So Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. So I've been doing it now for about 5 years,
Mm,
and I feel like every year I find something new that I love about it. So it's been super rewarding. It's been an amazing thing for me in terms of like flexibility and just being able to do something that I'm actually passionate about. So yeah, it's been great.
I love that. It's crazy because I can probably say 9 out of 10 times when I have these conversations with people who do content about their skin or an insecurity, they always started it out of to help themselves. Because, posting a photo of yourself or a video of yourself with your acne showing or whatever, is really bothering you that day, you're kind of taking that control back in a way, and it feels less, in a way, less intimidating, in my opinion, sending it like on the internet to strangers than walking
Hmm.
out to like friends and family that you actually know showing your acne.
100%.
So you
Yep.
kind of like break down that barrier, and then in turn you're like, for me at least, I remember I was kind of creating this like role model status with my content, and therefore I was like, okay, well, if I'm posting this and telling people they should be confident in their skin, this and this, I need to also emulate that in real life.
100%. Yep.
And you just like, and literally most of the people I talk to in this industry have that same like coming up story. So I think that's so interesting that
Yeah.
you had the same experience. And it goes to show, like, I didn't even know you started in fashion, but it goes to show, like, with social media, you can really, like, switch it up so quickly
Yeah.
on, like, what you're doing. And there's so many, like, because yes, like, you talk about acne and acne positivity, but there's so many other aspects to you that, like, people just see, like, this one side, but it's always cool to, like, see what else the
Yeah.
creator is, like, interested in stuff. But I do want to dive right into, like, kind of your acne journey because I think watching you on social media, and to anyone who's not familiar with your content, like, it has been such an inspiration to watch you like completely almost
Mm.
take control over so many aspects of your life and kind of like
Yeah.
tackle your acne kind of more at the root and like really that hormonal imbalance. So can you walk me through like, I mean, obviously you mentioned your acne kind of really started in college, senior year, but
Hmm.
what were like the big changes in your life that you think really started the acne at that point in your life?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I started getting acne, like I said, my senior year. So I was about 21 years old. I honestly am not 100% sure, but I do believe it's definitely correlated to the hormonal birth control that I was on.
It always is.
I literally,
It always is.
I know, and I thought it was causing it, and then I got it out. I had an IUD, so I had a hormonal IUD. I got it going into college, and I had some issues with it, but it was like okay. I was, just dealing with it. And
Mhm.
then I was really not liking it. I think I had it for 2 years. So I started getting tiny little breakouts, but nothing too crazy. And then I did get it out, and that's when everything just exploded. And I never
Right.
had issues with anything related to hormones growing up. Like my period was always on time. I was always pretty much like the same weight. I never really experienced brain fog or any of those symptoms that you have with the
Yeah.
hormonal imbalance. So it was really strange to me. And I was so confused and frustrated because I thought some way, somehow getting the IUD out would kind of cure everything, but it just made everything 1,000 times worse. And so from there, I was more so going to dermatologists, trying to understand like, was it hormonal acne? Was it something? Because, like I said before, I did have some acne in high school, but it was mostly like forehead acne, and it was cured almost immediately with like a topical.
Skincare,
So
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I went to the dermatologist. We kind of talked about it, and obviously the immediate options they gave me were birth control, Accutane, spironolactone. Not to say I'm a hypochondriac, but I kind of just like to stay away from certain, drugs and side
Okay.
effects. And so I kind of already put spironolactone off the table because I know it's for like high blood pressure, and I just didn't want to mess with something that could potentially
Right.
harm other parts of my body. So I actually did give the birth control pill a try,
Hmm.
and I actually used it for about 3 months, and my acne really did improve. But I started getting migraines with aura from it, and that's basically when you see like zigzags in your vision and you go blind. And I
That's so
immediately
scary.
so scary. And this was the first I've had migraines in the past, like when I was younger, but never to that extent. Like I literally thought I was having a stroke. So I called my gynecologist and I was like, listen, is this normal? Like, because it happened more than once.
Mm,
And she said, no, definitely go off of it. The estrogen can be doing something to you and you could be at a higher risk of a stroke. So immediately went off of that. And I was like,
that's
what?
terrifying.
Why would you not? But I guess they didn't tell me because maybe it's like a low chance. But you know,
Yeah.
that big birth control paper,
Yeah.
there's a
It's got
million things
everything
that can
on
happen
there.
to you.
So scary, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I went on birth control. It cleared, but then obviously I couldn't stay on it. So I went off of it. And then I was just kind of fed up at that point. I was like, you know what? Like, I need to try to take control of this. I don't care how
Yeah.
long it takes, but I need to try to take control of it. So I think that was like only a few months I had after I started getting acne. So I was probably still 21 at that point.
Okay.
And I would say until recently, I've only seen like I started seeing progress. So it's been 3 years of a
Yeah.
lot of trial and error, a lot of, and my skin is still not perfect. Like I still have breakouts, I still have certain things that I have to avoid, but in the past 3 years, I've really just dedicated myself to healing within. So I was also
Mhm.
experiencing some other things besides the acne. Like I gained a lot of weight during my senior year of college, and it was very, very unexpected. I didn't really have so many lifestyle changes. So I was like, what is happening to me? I
Mhm.
also was dealing with a lot of like mental health issues. I always had anxiety, but my anxiety was horrible. I was diagnosed with OCD, and that just like made everything 10 times more complicated. So I was also working a really stressful job and commuting 4 hours into the city. And it was a lot, like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. So all of this was just contributing to
Yeah.
overall, poor hormone health. And I'm not a
Right.
scientist, I'm not a doctor. I don't really know all the correct terms, but it was last October when I kind of hit a breaking point, not 2024, 2023. And that's when I saw a holistic wellness coach. She was just somebody that I found on Instagram, and I saw that she had some success with acne clients and other issues that relate to acne. So I reached out to her and we had like a consultation, and I worked with her for about 6 months, I think it was.
Mhm.
And I didn't see any immediate results in those 6 months. It was more so just learning like how to heal from within.
Right.
And then over the past almost, yeah, a year and a half, I've kind of just had to adjust a lot of things in my lifestyle, diet, nutrition, the way I even manage stress, the way I work on a day-to-day basis. So it's been a journey, but yeah, so I would say once I really started looking at the root, and the root, there's not really a root answer. It's just
Yeah.
looking at like taking a deeper dive at my lifestyle because I wasn't living maybe the best lifestyle, taking a deeper dive of that kind of and like dissecting it and realizing what I can change, what it's out of my control. That's when
Yeah.
kind of things started to look a little bit better.
I think that, like you mentioning working with the coach for 6 months too, I think that's one of the biggest issues with acne in general because people always like are looking for these immediate results. And I mean, I'm sure you get it too, but every time I get a comment of someone telling me like just go on Accutane, I
I
almost
hate
like
it.
one, I have my reasons for not going on it. Similarly to how you said with spirulactone, like I just don't want to have anything else be a problem like while I'm trying to heal the acne with it. And I
100%.
just almost know in my gut that me going on Accutane will not heal my acne long term. Like I just know it in my gut, you know? And whenever I get a comment like that though, I am very much tempted to say, yeah, I'm on it because even if you're on Accutane, it could be my first week on Accutane and like it still takes time for things
Hmm.
to heal. I could still
Yeah,
have gone through Accutane and like when people say that like as if it's like an overnight solution is crazy to me and then let alone when you're trying to go the more holistic route, like people are looking for these immediate results where they're like, try this for a week and then they expect to be gone. Or even with products in general, like I always get people being like, oh, I thought you said that product worked for your acne and you still like are breaking out. I'm like, well, it's not going to be a overnight immediate
yep,
result and it takes a lot of work. So I like that you touch on that. It was like more of a 6 month learning process rather than like I'm doing this to immediately get those results because you have to like kind of disconnect from it or else you're always searching for that solution. You're like hyper fixating on like the acne itself. Whereas I think it's so
100%.
important to take that step back, like you mentioned, because I think if we start to look at it as like acne, it's this thing that, we get on our face and it really brings our attention to it, and it really like drives us a little bit crazy. But how else will your body like signal, like what a great thing that your body can signal to you that like something's off, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe if it weren't for like acne directly on our face in the most uncomfortable spots, maybe we wouldn't pay attention to it and wouldn't really care to do something about it, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think too, acne has always been something from dermatologists that's, and this is not like a diss to
Yeah,
dermatologists.
yeah, yeah.
Dermatologists obviously do amazing work, but I think it's just those like one, two, three solutions that, think that they're going to work immediately. But I think too, like it depends on the type of acne that you have. So,
Yeah.
like I said, in high school, my acne, I did need a topical treatment. Like it was fungal acne and it did need to be treated with a cream. But
Yeah.
thinking about hormonal cystic acne in your 20s, there's something else going on. There's a warning, it's your warning sign that there's
Yeah.
something not right in your body. And like you said, like we're lucky that we're not lucky that we have acne, but we're lucky
Yeah.
that it's our body telling us like, look, there's something going on and here is like what we're going to show you so that you
Mhm.
know it's happening. Also, the thing that's hard is like there's never a definitive answer of what really is going on. Like you can get all these blood work, you can get tests and ultrasounds and all these things, but I know there's like some wellness coaches that really do dive into certain things like, your gut problems and stuff. My wellness coach didn't dive in that much that deep, but it's like it's a very open-ended question. So it's trial and error. You have to kind of see like what works for you, what doesn't. And acne is also not like a one solution for everybody. Like
Mm.
everybody, even though, me and you might have similar type of acne, like something that works for me might not necessarily work for you because we have two totally different bodies. We have different lifestyles that we live. We live in different places.
Yeah.
Like obviously some things might, kind of line up,
Yeah,
but at the
yeah.
same time, there are things that work for me that aren't going to work for you and things that work for you that aren't going to work for me. And it's hard because you have to just be patient and like work for you. And I think that's the big thing with acne is everyone just thinks that it can be cured with one thing, like
Yep.
Accutane. And it's just not the truth. Like it's not the fact. Some people probably go on it and it works amazing for them. And I'm not against anybody who decides to do that.
Exactly.
Like that's your life, that's your choice. And if it worked for you, that's amazing.
Great,
But for
yeah.
me, like you said, I always knew in my gut that it was not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just knew that like there was something bigger going on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally, because it's like you feel like there's so many other like when you look at when I came off birth control too, like it wasn't just the acne, like my whole body felt inflamed, you know? So I'm like,
Yep.
there's no way that yes, okay, if my skin was clear tomorrow, I'd still probably feel the same way, like, you know,
Yeah.
just with my whole body. Like it just there was definitely something bigger going on. And I think, yeah, like people look at it as like, oh, you know, I have acne, like I need to they think of it immediately skincare, or something oral like Accutane, but there can be so many other things to it and so many combined things. And like you mentioned, even climate. I just noticed now, like after spending 6 months in Europe, I came back to Canada, my skin is breaking out right now like no
Hmm.
other. And I'm
Yep.
like, the hell? I literally was
Yeah.
not having these like painful hormonal cysts, and then all of a sudden
Hmm.
like it causes such a toll. And I mean like flying and stuff too, like just any change in atmosphere always
Yep.
affects me. But I do want to ask you, so like you worked with this coach for 6 months, and what were
Hmm.
some of the top things that you learned about like your lifestyle and just like everyday things that you were like, oh, like I didn't even know that I should be changing this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the number one thing that I learned a lot about from her was like inflammation in our body. And like we are inflamed through the things that we eat, the things we put on our body, but also just our mental. And like I
Mm.
didn't really understand the impact that your stress can have on your skin. Not to say that it's the number one thing that causes your acne, but
Yeah.
stress plays a huge factor. Like why do you think we break out when we go on airplanes and stuff? It's because we're like stressed from travel. And like,
Yeah.
if you're like on vacation, like you're a little bit more relaxed. But I think when I was working with her when I was in my corporate job. So it wasn't easy for me to always be relaxed because I was commuting a lot. I wasn't really maintaining a certain diet. I was kind of, on the go 24/7. And my job was also just stressing me out.
Yeah.
So from her, I kind of learned that it's not only what you eat and what you do, it's also like what's going on in your brain. And that's so much easier said than done to fix something that's going on in your brain. And I think too, like, because I have this job now with content creation, I'm doing it full time, like, it's been easier for me to feel a little bit less stressed. I don't know 100% how I would feel if I was thrown back into a 9 to 5. Maybe my skin would freak out, but I learned more so like how to deal with stress. So obviously, we're always going to have stress in our life, but it's more so how to cope with it and how to not let it like make your mind race at night. So certain techniques were like waking up in the morning and actually having a morning routine rather than just waking up and immediately grabbing my phone and scrolling. And I'm such a comparer on social media. I really try not to be, but I'm always like looking at other people's lives and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what are they doing? Like, why am I not doing that?" So
Yeah.
immediately if I pick up the phone and start doing that, I'm stressing myself out before I even open my eyeballs.
Yeah.
So to me, it was creating a solid morning routine, and that kind of looks like, taking time for myself, keeping my phone down, having like a warm lemon water drink instead of coffee first thing, writing in my journal, kind of releasing any negative emotions. And also stretching in the morning has been like a huge thing for the past couple of months. I had like a lot of tension in my body as well. I think it was from the stress in my mind, but also just the stress I was putting on my body. I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't exercising. So stretching has been helping me just like release the tension and that like mind body connection. But I have the privilege of doing this because of my career. I know that other people can't have these extensive morning routines.
Yeah.
But I think it's just if you are listening and you do have like, and you want to change your morning routine, it's all about those small changes. Like,
Mhm.
you don't need to have a 2 hour morning routine, but maybe just wake up 30 minutes earlier and just do like two things. Like, and that's what we worked on when I first started seeing her because I was working in corporate America. Like, I couldn't have that crazy morning routine. So she was like, just pick two things that you can do when you go into the office. Like, if you want to drink your lemon water and you want to stretch, or maybe just go outside for 10 minutes and just like feel like the cold
Absorb.
air.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was like pick those two things that you can do. And then gradually, maybe you'll even want to wake up earlier because you'll want more time for yourself. I think a big thing is like we don't have enough time for ourselves when we're working. And I think that's in turn stressing us out more than we actually think. Yeah. So the inflammation, all that, that kind of correlates number one to like our stress, but then also our diet 100% too. And it's so much easier said than done to change your diet. I think we also don't want to get into that habit where we're so focused on our
Mhm.
diet that it prevents us from living life. And I think that's the balance I'm trying to kind of understand right now. But diet and what we eat, like you might think that you're eating, super healthy, but the foods that you're eating could potentially be leading to more inflammation in your body. So I definitely recommend this book. It's called In the Flow. You can get it on Amazon and it kind of just like breaks down hormonal imbalances and then also just maybe some meal ideas and foods that can help lower inflammation in your body. Because I was experiencing acne, but also so much bloating, so much
Mhm.
fatigue, and all that is correlated and can potentially be fixed with the nutrition that we're putting in our body.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the number one thing because, like I said, the stress, but just learning how to like eat different foods. And I wasn't really eating a lot of fruits and veggies and all those things. We get taught like eat your fruits and veggies, like they're good for you, but they are truly really good for you. Like all these supplements that we take, like we can get those nutrients through food, but we just
Yeah.
have to eat like a more balanced diet. So
Yeah.
it's so much easier said than done, but I think I just kind of put my head down and really just started doing my research. Also, Chat GPT is going to be your best friend. Um,
Really?
yes, like I use it all the time. Like if you ever just want to go on it and be like, hey, like what can I eat as an anti-inflammatory breakfast? Like I want this many grams of protein. Because a lot of people talk about how it's important to have protein first thing in
Mhm.
the morning when you have a hormonal imbalance. So it's like, let's say I want to eat 30 grams of protein. I want to eat anti-inflammatory and low glycemic so you don't raise your blood sugar. Like it will give you all these meal ideas. And it's
That's
such a
so
great
cool.
tool. Yeah. So she taught me number one, that stress is directly can impact your acne, but then
Yeah.
also nutrition also. And then just like making sure that you're sweating, moving around. You don't need to be having these like crazy workouts every single day, but
Mhm.
getting 30 minutes, even just a brisk walk, like that's something that you can do. Moving your body. I think it's all overall just like making better lifestyle
Mhm.
choices and just like trying to find the little things that you can do because you're not always going to be able to have what you see on social media, right? It's
Totally.
just finding those tiny little things that you can start doing. And then as you do it more often, you'll want to do it more because you're taking care of yourself finally after probably years and years of just like focusing on your career or focusing on school. So yeah, I think that's like the basis of what she was
Yeah.
able to teach me.
That's super cool. I think with food, like there's so much pressure around it because especially, with most people with corporate jobs and stuff, I feel like I even felt this like with, food, it felt like such a chore. I was like, okay, like let me just meal prep this same meal for the whole week because it's just
Mhm.
something to eat. Or it's like you're going out and like grabbing a lunch just because you're like, okay, I have to feed my body, but you're not actually like thinking about what it is you're eating, if that makes
A
sense.
100%. Yeah.
And creating that balance. And I think then that comes like the pressure around like, okay, I can't eat this because it'll make me break out, or I should like everyone's saying like you can't eat dairy if you have acne, or you can't eat
Hmm.
this, this, and this, and this. And so
Yeah.
how did you kind of navigate like all of those different, like, did you kind of pick one thing and test it out for a while, or what was your
Yeah,
method?
I think what I just focused on most is just getting mostly whole foods in my diet. So I never really had any problems with dairy. I know there's like that stigma around it, but I just kind of experimented with everything. So
Yeah.
if I ate something that had dairy in it and I noticed that I had a breakout the day after, like I was like, okay, maybe I'll try to limit that, but I'm not going to ever completely like eliminate something from my diet just because I get a small pimple. Because overall, like if you're basically eliminating something unless you're like allergic, like you're
Yeah.
basically telling your body that like this is not good for me. So then when you
Right.
eat it, like you can potentially break out more. So it's just more so like trying not to eat it as often. So like I don't really drink milk, but if you break out and you feel like, oh, it might have been from the milk, then like see maybe drink it again and see if you break out. But it was more so just focusing on whole foods, like trying to cut out as much processed food as I can. And processed is more so just like our sugary cereals and stuff, like trying to make better choices for like the morning. So instead of cereal, I would reach for like an egg or turkey bacon or avocado and try to like reach for a fruits more in the day than reaching for chips or like something that, might not be super nutritious. And I think too, it was just focusing on, like I said, what worked for me, like just experimenting. So if I felt really good after a meal, I'm like, okay, my body actually really liked that. But if
Mm.
I was even not even just acne, like if I was experiencing physical symptoms like bloating or gas after a meal, I'm like, okay, maybe like my body didn't really react like that well. So I was trying to
Right.
just be super intuitive and like listen to what was
Mm.
working. And like, I'm not 100% perfect. Like, I'm still kind of trying to find that balance of like trying not to avoid so many different things. Like this past weekend, it was the Super Bowl weekend. So like I ate whatever I wanted and I
Mm.
didn't really care if I got a pimple or not. But it's more so like, okay, now I enjoyed myself. I had a great time, but it's like, let's get back on track to eating foods that make me feel really, really good. And I think
Right.
it became less about the acne and more about how I was feeling because I was also just not feeling well when I was eating certain foods. And I was like, obviously drinking a lot of alcohol in college, and that was really affecting me. So, kind of trying to like wean off of that and just like live an overall healthier lifestyle and just like see what works for me. There's some people that probably can't eat dairy because it just makes their acne explode. But for me, it was more so like, okay, like maybe this one triggered a little bit more, or that yogurt was like actually perfectly fine.
Mm.
And it's weird because sometimes like I'll eat something and I'll have no breakout. And then the next time I eat it, I'll have like a tiny breakout or something. So it's honestly confusing. Like you
Yeah.
really just have to have patience and like almost keep like a diary of it. Like, okay, this worked well, this didn't. But at the same time, life is going to happen. You're going to be in situations where you're not going to always be able to have a perfect diet.
Yep.
Like I'm traveling in March and I'm a little bit anxious because I'm like, oh my God, I can't control my diet. I can't have my lemon water. Like, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. What if I'm stressed? But I'm like, you know what? I'm just at a point where I'm traveling to have fun. I'm not
Yeah.
traveling to let my acne like affect me. And this
Take
is actually
over. Yeah.
something I learned from you too. Like,
Really?
yes, you're just so like, when you were traveling, you were like, these are the things that I would have missed out on, right? If I let my acne control me when I was studying abroad. And it's just like, I think of that when I go on vacation. I'm like, who cares if I break out after I eat like a piece of cheese or if I enjoyed myself or I didn't get enough sleep? Like, it's like you can only control so much in your life.
Yeah.
You can control when you can control, but when things are out of your control, it's just you got to go with the flow. And sometimes that stress of not being in control could contribute to your breakouts. So it's like, you know what? You might as well just have fun,
Live it up. Yeah.
enjoy, and you'll deal with the breakouts later. But yeah, I think it's really all about
Exactly.
trial and error and just kind of like understanding, what makes me feel actually really, really good.
Right. No, yeah, and that's like a great perspective to have because it's yeah, not just about the acne. I think it's hard too because especially as women, like we have so many changes going on. So it's like 1 week my skin's perfect clear and then like I'm about to get my period, so then it's like full breakout. So then it's like, wait, am I
Hmm.
breaking out because of my cycle? Am I breaking out because of this food? Am I breaking out because of this new skincare product? Like all these
Yep.
things and trying to like nitpick, but I think it's more like the long-term game of like, okay, like over time, are these changes giving like a
Yep.
positive or negative effect? And one thing I found interesting that you said in terms of your morning routine is, I think something I'm struggling with now is I always had like a good morning routine, and this one I had a more structured life. Like we kind of talked about this
Yeah.
before we recorded. Whereas
Hmm.
now, because it's like I don't have a class necessarily to like get up to and go to or like work, I'm almost struggling having like that structured morning routine every day. So what have you kind of done to like, I don't want to say force yourself to do it every day, but it's like when you don't
Yeah.
have to, like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I 100%. And trust me, like this morning routine has been something that I have had to perfect over time. Like there was mornings where I was miserable and I would just wake up and I'm like, you know what? I just need to do it. And it's something that is just going to click. Like, and I think what really helps is just knowing that like when you don't have a structure, like you have to create your own structure. And at the end of the day, you have goals of the day. So setting yourself up super early in the morning is going to in turn make you more successful throughout the day.
Yeah.
So, like for me, I know that if I sleep in till 12 p.m., I'm going to have a very unproductive day, right?
Same. I feel like awful when I like
Yeah.
I feel the best when I wake up. Like I'm not like a super morning person. Like I'm not like a 4 or 5 a.m.er,
No, yeah.
but like I also even if I wake up like 9:30, 10, I just feel like like by the time you get up and like get going,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the
A
middle of
hundred
the
percent.
day.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. Like I've never been a morning person. I'm always a night owl. Honestly, my struggle is going to bed because I don't know when to turn off. But
Mm-hmm.
in the morning, I think what's really helped me over just like the past 2 months, because I've just had a goal to wake up a little bit earlier. I actually have something, it's called like a habit tracker. And basically, what's in it is you write down like 10 goals for the daily, and then
Mm-hmm.
3 goals for weekly, and then 3 goals for monthly. And it's really helped me like create new habits. And I think what kind of has allowed me to add on so many things to my routine is because I started small. Like, I maybe wake up just 15 minutes earlier or like wake up 30 minutes earlier. You don't need to go from waking up at 9 a.m. to waking up at 3 a.m. Like, it's just not realistic, right? So it's like, okay, if you're currently waking up at 10 a.m., maybe try to wake up at 9:30 and then see how productive you are. And then that's like a cue in your head, like, okay, I was actually really productive today. And I also was able to get everything done. So I could actually
Yeah.
relax more at night because I didn't have more going on in my mind. So if you just make that little small change, you might feel rewarded. So you want to do it more.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, just maybe if you want like I said before, like just pick two things. So like when I wake up 30 minutes earlier, I'm gonna just journal and I'm gonna maybe sit outside for a few minutes. And then that might make you want to be like, oh, I actually really enjoyed my time in the morning. Because also when you're a content creator, like you're always on, right? You don't have that 9 to 5. You can be
Yeah.
thinking of content at 6 a.m. and you could be thinking there's sometimes I'm in bed at 12 p.m. I'm like, oh my God, that's actually a really good
Oh,
video. Like I
same.
should
It
post
drives
that.
me crazy because
No,
it's like
literally,
I
your
want to get up and
brain.
film it that second, but it's
Hmm.
like, okay, no,
Yes,
I need to go to bed.
100%. Yeah, so your brain is constantly on. So it's hard for you to like not wake up and just immediately go into that mode. So it's almost like you're setting yourself up for just like a little bit of time so that
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be in that content creator mode. And it's like, okay, I can actually just like have my little break, be a little bit relaxed. And then
Yeah.
12 o'clock hits, okay, I'm in full work mode. And like,
Yeah.
you don't have to feel guilty about starting late, like starting your work late or putting time aside for yourself because you're allowed to do that. Like, and I
Right.
think that's something that's really helped me is like I have my own schedule. Like I'm allowed to do what I want. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
want to work until 12 p.m. I can, but I'm just at the point where I'd rather be relaxed at night. So why
Mm-hmm.
don't I just try to be as productive as possible in the morning? And like if I can wake up even an hour earlier, I know that by 7 p.m., like I'm going to be relaxed and that's going to be amazing. And I can watch my shows and I can do whatever. So I think it's just like really not like forcing yourself to do it, but in the beginning, just like trying to reinforce it over and over and over again, making small little changes. And then eventually you're going to be like, wow, I actually really enjoy this. And then you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be like, it's not something that's an obligation anymore.
Yeah.
It's something that I want to do. So yeah, and like even now, like every morning, I think of things that I could add because I'm like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. Like I actually have time to myself. And it's not like automatically, because when I was working corporate, I would wake up probably at 8:55, go on my computer and start the day. I had no time for myself. And then after work, I was exhausted. So it's like for me now, like even though I technically have time for myself because I'm not working a corporate job, it's like when I'm in my content creator mode, like I'm on fire. My brain is on fire. Like I am not thinking about myself and like, oh, like I should really just relax. Like I cannot relax.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I
having
feel the
that
same.
time, yeah. So having that time, like 2 hours in the morning
Yeah.
to relax for myself, like it makes the world of difference. So it's just reinforcing yourself and just doing it over and over and over again, I guess, until it clicks.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so curious now. Like, I've seen like a lot of your morning routine videos online too,
Mm-hmm.
but like, can you walk me through like your full morning routine and
Sure.
how long does it usually take you?
Sure, yeah. So more recently, I've been really trying to push to go to sleep at 11:30 so I could wake up at 8:30. Like that's my ideal sleep time. I get enough sleep. And 8:30, I feel like it's early enough for me. I've
Mm,
never been an early person, but it's like, okay, like we still have time. It's not
yeah.
too late. So wake up around 8:30. Immediately, I go put on like a pot of boiling water because I always drink lemon water in the morning. It's actually supposed to be really bad for your teeth, and I just learned that. So I'm
Really?
like, yeah, apparently can like ruin your enamel. So
Oh,
I'm
from the
like,
acidity.
yeah, so I'm like, do I need to change this? But for now, I'm just keeping it. I'm like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so lemon water is supposed to be for, and I do like a little dash of Himalayan salt. It's supposed to be for detoxification, hydration. So I'll put my pot on and then I have this like neck stretcher. I always have a lot of tension in my neck from when I sleep. So I'll like stretch my neck until the water boils. Then I'll sit down and I have the habit tracker. So every day I kind of just like track like what I did yesterday and then if I completed anything for the week or for the month. And then I'll write in my journal. I have like prompt journals. So it'll basically just ask me like questions and it kind of just forces me to think a little bit deeper about like maybe stuff that's like really bothering me, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually like projecting it, which could in
Right.
turn be, actually stressing me
The
out and
stress. Yeah,
causing,
yeah.
yeah. So my prompt
And phone is
journal,
down this whole time.
phone is down the whole time. Yeah, I literally don't look at my phone for like an hour and a half. And like it's hard. Like obviously you want to look
Yeah.
at your phone, but I just keep it like in its charger and don't touch it. And then right after that, I'll just do my morning like stretch. So I just go on YouTube. There's this one girl I love. Her name is Yoga with Bird. And she is just so beginner friendly. Like I am not somebody that knows how to do yoga, but
Same.
she's very
It's a struggle.
informative.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's super easy to follow her. So I do like
Okay,
a
cool.
10, 15-minute stretch. And then right after that, I just eat my breakfast. So I try to get in at least 30 grams of protein for breakfast. So that typically looks like eggs, avocado, turkey bacon, sourdough bread, fruits. And yeah, I would say it takes around like an hour and a half. And then once I'm done with that, I get into my content mode. So I sit down, I post on my Instagram, I post on my TikTok, my YouTube shorts I'm trying to get into now. And then I'm just content until about like 8 p.m. Because like sometimes at night I'll do like some editing and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I try to really shut that brain off like 8:39 so that I
Yeah.
can actually wake up and do that routine. Because
Yeah.
if I don't, then I'm gonna be delayed. Like today, last night I didn't go to bed until like 1:30, and I allowed myself to do it though because it was like Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
this morning I woke up an hour later and it kind of just messed up my entire day. So I'm
It
like, I
does.
don't want that to happen, but sometimes it does, you know?
Yeah, and the quiet time, like I think, is so valuable in the morning too. Like, and like you said, when it's something you look forward to. This actually happened to me while I was on exchange. Like, I personally do not like cooking. I love to eat though, but I with the cooking, I'm like I can't. Like it has always felt like such a chore for
Yeah.
me. But honestly, like during exchange, I like nailed down a breakfast that I was really, really liking, and every single day I would like look forward to waking up, making my breakfast. And it's so funny because you're like, I wake up and put the water to boil. I would do the same, but just to like make my
Yeah.
hard-boiled eggs. So I
Yeah,
thought that was
yeah.
so
I
funny.
love
But
that.
and I would look forward to it every day. Now I'm trying to like, I'm like, okay, I eat breakfast at home every day. My struggle is more like lunch and dinners where I'm like, I have
Hmm.
my staples that I always make, but I'm like, okay, am I actually getting enough nutrition out of this? And then with living alone, I feel like I don't buy too many like fruits and vegetables at once,
Yeah.
because it's like,
Hmm.
okay, either I eat the same thing for the full week or it goes bad. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
I
thing.
feel your struggle 100%. Like, I live at home still, but I do all my own grocery shopping.
Yeah.
My family eats like other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm in like the same struggle. Like, you have to find that perfect balance of like, okay, I honestly what I try to do is like I try to get like two fruits, two veggies, and two like meats. I don't know if you eat meat, but
Yeah, I
I do
do.
like, yeah, so I'll get like a ground turkey or ground beef or like a
Love
chicken
ground. Yeah.
breast. And then I'll just do like for fruit, like I honestly don't love that many fruits, like in terms of like
Really?
berries and stuff. Yeah, like I like strawberries, but I'm not like a raspberry or a blackberry girl.
Okay.
More so like strawberries. I actually really have found a new love for kiwis recently.
Okay, yeah.
Strawberries, kiwis, and then like two veggies. So I'll just do like vegetable. I'll do like broccoli or like asparagus or something like that. But it's hard to shop for yourself because you feel like you don't have enough or you have too much.
Yeah,
So it's just like
exactly.
finding that perfect balance, but there's not a perfect balance. It doesn't
Yeah, and
exist.
then it's like such a chore, I feel like too, because you're like do the shop, like cook, like I just personally
No, it
don't
is.
really
It
enjoy
is.
cooking.
No, honestly, I don't
Um,
really either.
so especially like breakfast I can do because it's like, yeah, I just woke up, like I have the time, but lunch I'm always
Hmm.
like it's like the interruption of like my work day, so then I'm like, oh,
I
okay,
know.
gotta
No, I
feed
feel 100.
myself, like
Yeah. No, I feel the same. I try to like not meal prep, but it's just I try to cook the meat like in the beginning of the
so
week
that yeah,
just
yeah,
so I can
same.
like do it like super easily. But like if I have to throw in like a pot of rice or something, like I could do that. I know it's
Yeah.
easy, but like cooking chicken at 2 p.m., like I'm not doing that.
Oh, that is like my worst nightmare. Like I
No.
cannot. Yeah, so I try to prep the meat earlier too. But I think it's like, yeah, it is hard finding that balance. And when you are in just like a hyper, like I know when I was in school last year, I was taking so many classes. I had like no time. Like I was go, go, go from,
Hmm.
like, I'd wake up around 6 a.m. because I had like early class and then I was just like go, go, go. But one thing I really, really got locked down was my sleep schedule because back then, now I'm like working on adjusting
Yeah,
and getting back
of
into a new
course. Yeah.
routine. But I was like in bed by 9:30, latest 10 every single night. And all my friends would be like, you're such a grandma. Like you're always, like so strict about your sleep. And I'm like,
Hmm.
this is the one thing that I can do, like to take care of myself during this time because
Hmm.
I don't have that other time. So it's like if I can at least get like good sleep every night, then I'm like setting myself up for success
A
the
hundred
next day.
percent.
But I had this realization that I'm like, wow, we really put so much effort into our job, like school, all this stuff, and we're like, no, I have to be super on for this. I have to like, you know, do everything. But then when it comes to ourselves, like we could not care less. Like if you
Literally.
get 5 hours of sleep a night, you're
Yep.
like, whatever, I have to do it. Like I have to get to work at, but
Hmm.
you like forget to portion out that time. And I really made it as if I was clocking into a job. Like that was my sleep schedule. I'm like, nope. like
Yeah.
gotta be in bed by like 9:30, and I think switching your mindset to that is so good. But it's the hardest when you like fall off of it for a bit and then
Mm-hmm.
you
Try to
have
get
to like
back
get,
into it.
yeah, because
Yeah.
you know
No.
it's like what's the best for your body, but at the same time we like have this struggle where it's like, but I could just stay up or I could, yeah.
No, yeah. And it's so hard because we have so many things that could keep us up. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's so much like more fun to watch your Netflix show than go to sleep. But it's like at the same time, like you people don't realize also how important sleep is. Like
Yeah.
it's just also for women too. Like I've learned more about like the circadian rhythm
Yes,
and
same.
everything with women, and it's so important for us to be getting 8 to 9 hours.
Yeah.
And I know that most people aren't because they physically can't. Like, their
Yeah.
job or something holding them back and they would have to go to bed at like 6 or 7 p.m. But it's even if you go to bed 1 hour earlier, you're still like helping your body. But it's
Getting
also
there.
that guilt of like you said before, your friends are like, you're such a grandma, like, but it's just like I have to do what I have to do, like I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
feel good. So it's like not listening to outside voices and just
Totally.
doing what's best for you. Because like obviously, we're so programmed to be like night owls, like in
Yeah.
our early 20s. It's like,
Yes.
some classes weren't even till like 9 p.m. So
Yeah.
you'd be in class at 9 p.m. Like you come home, you eat dinner at like 10:30, and
Yeah.
like that's how everything was. And we thought that was normal, but like that is not normal. And it's like reshaping your mind of what actually is normal. And
I
like,
know. I totally agree with you because I think it's so, I was gonna say it's so normalized, I think, in our society in general to not sleep very much. And when you tell someone like, oh,
hmm
I slept a whole 8 hours last night, they're like, wow, you must feel great. Like it almost is like a treat or like you had like a
yeah.
day off to sleep 8 hours, you know?
hmm
So, and I think like that's what we should be getting on a daily basis. Like I see it now. Once I was doing that every day, getting those at least 8 hours of sleep, one night where I'd go to bed late, complete like I felt so different the next day, or even going to bed later than like midnight, I
hmm
felt like I got such bad quality of sleep, even if I slept like a long time. And
Same.
it's not
No,
until you're doing
hmm
that on a normal basis that you realize like, wait, this is actually so bad to like not be getting sleep, but it's so normalized, I think, in our society to not sleep enough. And it's almost like the more like hardworking you are, you just like don't
hmm
sleep and you get used to like not sleeping, you know?
Yeah. It's like almost like a brag, like, oh, I only got 3 hours of sleep. Like, I'm so hardworking, but it's like that is not good. Like, your brain did
Yeah.
not have time to recover. But
Yeah.
we don't, I feel like also, too, like going back to the acne stuff, like, we don't realize like what's going on until like we're removed from the situation. We're like, oh my gosh, like that actually was not
Yeah.
normal. Like, how did I not know this? But it's because we've been taught these things. And I feel like only recently has all this research come out about like certain things. Like, maybe it's always been there, but nobody ever told us. I
Yeah.
mean, even about all the food we're eating now, like in the US, like all these things are coming out. And it's just like, why was nobody talking about this before?
I
Like,
know.
why was nobody talking about hormonal acne and how bad birth control was for you? Like, why was nobody talking about how poor sleep quality affects your day-to-day life? But it's just like,
Yeah.
I think after COVID, like something just exploded and it was like, let's lay everything on the table because
Yeah.
this is why everyone's sick and everything's happening. I mean, we still have such a long way to go,
Oh, totally.
but I think we're probably moving in the right direction of people are becoming more aware of these things that are
Yes,
happening.
yes. And I think too, like, you go to the doctor and that's why, and not all doctors, but I think in a lot of cases and what a lot of people experience, it's like they're not really asking you like, are you sleeping this much per night?
hmm
What time are you going to sleep?
hmm
Like, what are you
Yep.
eating? Like it's more based on those like I don't want to say like quick solutions, but like and even sometimes yeah, like you said, looking at blood work and stuff, it's not always going to give you like that answer, but it can be like a step in the right direction. And I just think like being more in tune with what's going on with your body, like we forget that our body is going to signal things in a really
hmm
amazing way and how it works. And I always say like my acne in a way keeps me in check because it like
Yeah.
I can use it because if it wasn't for that, maybe I would have, if I always had clear skin, maybe I wouldn't have like tried to fix my sleep schedule or try
hmm
to implement more de-stressing and stuff. And I think we live in such like high functioning society where we're not getting sleep, we're always like on the go and we're always waiting for like we're like, oh, I'll just go at this pace until I have that moment to take a
Yeah,
breath and relax, but you can't. And I've been there before, and it just time and time again, it just leads me to like burn out or get like sick, and then I'm sick for like weeks at a time. Like
100%. 100%.
implementing it like one day at a time. And I think that's even where I'm struggling now, where I'm not in school anymore. So I feel like all this pressure to do everything at once. And I have to keep reminding myself, like, it's literally one work day at a time. And I think, like, yeah, even seeing like your morning routines and stuff, like, I think it's so good to see that in such a normalized way because I think there's pressure around, okay, I want to have a morning routine to relax, but then I'm seeing all these influencers with these like perfect morning routines
Yeah.
and they do this, this,
Hmm.
and this. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm stressed about trying to have a
Yeah.
full morning routine, like
Hmm.
it's just one big
100%.
cycle or eating and stuff
Yeah.
too, anything.
Yeah.
Because for me, I've always been like, okay, I should journal in the morning because that's what everyone says is really relaxing. To me, I feel like it just feels like a chore. If anything, I almost kind of use this podcast as like my, virtual journal in a way where I can just like let out my
Yeah.
thoughts. Or what
Hmm.
helps me more is actually like hopping on a FaceTime with a friend, especially when I was living abroad and just like airing out those thoughts,
Yeah.
sometimes even more than writing them down because that just felt like a chore in
Yeah.
for me personally. But then there's that pressure of like, well, this is what everyone's saying to do, this is what people are saying is
Hmm.
relaxing. So I think just letting go of like what you're seeing everyone else doing and kind of picking and choosing what works for you, and if there's something in some routine that you're like, oh, actually I think I would enjoy that, implement
Hmm.
that, and vice versa. Because even just with working out, like I really dislike running. Like running to
No,
me,
so do I. Hate it.
um,
Hate
there's
it.
no way. But like for example,
No,
like I
literally.
love I love swimming. So like that's
Yeah.
something that I can do instead. So
Hmm.
but there's that pressure of like, oh, I should be a runner because like I'm seeing all these
Always.
girls on
Yeah.
social media that like
Yeah.
do that at 6 a.m. in the morning and that's what I should be doing. Like not
Hmm.
necessarily. That could just like add more stress to your life. Whereas for a lot of people
Yeah.
it is a release of stress and that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it, and I think you bring up a good point. Like, it's so important to find what works for you. Like, I kind of try to tread lightly with my morning routines because I don't want people to feel that pressure. But at the same time, like, I want people to like almost feel inspired
Yeah.
and want, and like maybe take some inspiration to incorporate into their routines. But there are some routines on social media where I'm just like, we can chill a little bit. Like,
Hmm.
maybe that works for them, but it's like almost pressuring people so much. Like, oh my God, they're a content creator and they woke up at 5 a.m. and they did all this amazing stuff. And like,
Yeah.
why don't I do that? But like you said, maybe that works for them and that's amazing. So it's
Yeah.
really just trying to not listen to the pressures, but it's so hard. Like, and also going back on one thing you said, like, I really do think that my acne has almost like helped me live like my healthiest life, which is
Hmm.
so weird to
I
say,
know.
but it's like you said, like maybe you wouldn't focus on your sleep if you didn't have acne. Like maybe I would have never created a morning routine if I didn't have acne. So it's like looking at the bright side of it, like, okay, like I actually was able to like become healthy from
Yeah.
something that was like tearing me down so much. So it's just like, I guess, understanding what's tearing you down and like how you can fix it, but then also finding what works best for you. Because I also hate running. Like,
Hmm.
I've been trying to like lose some weight over the past couple of months because I had a lot of excess from the past 2 years. And really finding what worked for me was like just walking, like literally just walking on the treadmill. And
Yeah.
I was always like, oh, maybe I should try to run, but I hate it. Like even when I played
Yeah.
sports, like I remember I played lacrosse growing up. So
Hmm.
running down the field was like I hated it. Like I
Yeah.
just never wanted to do that. But it was like I was forced to because I was in the sport.
Part of
But
the
it's like
sport. Yeah.
now, like if I were to get on a treadmill, like I am not running. But some people love to run, like that's their
Oh, yeah.
therapy. And it's just like for me, my therapy is walking. Like I love to just walk and like maybe watch something or just like literally look around the gym and like watch people or walk outside and be with nature.
Mhm.
And you love swimming, so that's your therapy. Like that's how you get your movement in. And I think too, it's just like over time, you learn what works best for you and you just try not to live for others. But it's just such a self-development thing that has to happen
Totally.
over the course of years. It's not something that just happens immediately. And I think too, like you just ended school. So you're going to have like a long self journey discovery for maybe,
Totally.
you know, maybe you'll have it for a few weeks, maybe you'll have it for a month, maybe you'll have it for years. And like that's something that I personally went through and I'm still going through it. So it's just like you really just have to know in your heart of heart what makes you feel most alive. Like even
Mm,
thinking about just because everybody else runs, like why would you run? Or
yeah.
just because everybody else like I don't know, like goes to Pilates at 4 a.m. Like doesn't mean you need to. Like
Yeah, I think there's such, and I think especially in our 20s, like there's so much pressure of like, because everyone's doing such different things, like we're all at different stages in
hmm
life, and it's like, am I at the right stage? Am I doing the right thing with my day and all of that? And I
hmm
think that was a big thing for me now, like as I mentioned to you, like all my friends are in 9 to 5, and I was like, okay, I'm choosing a different path, but I know that this is the path that's making me happy, and I have to like
hmm
stick to my truth. And I think there's so much
Yeah.
pressure around that. Or even like I don't drink like basically at all. I haven't for a few years just because like I
Yeah.
didn't really enjoy it. It
hmm
didn't make me feel good, and I have a lot
hmm
more fun and I'm a lot more energetic, honestly, when I'm sober. But there was that social pressure of like, people were like, oh, you're not doing this tonight, or everyone else is.
hmm
And I think we have to, even with seeing everything as wonderful as social media can be to like give you other perspectives, and I
Yeah.
think it does amplify that even more of like now you're not just comparing yourself to your circle of friends, but you're comparing yourself to
hmm
literally every person out there
Yep.
and trying to decide like, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't. And honestly, like it's such a helpful tool to look at different things, but you have to just find things that work for you. And I think obviously there is like the point of like self-discipline as well. Like as much as I love swimming, do I always want to go when I wake up in the morning and have it be the first thing? No, like there's some days where I'm like,
Yeah.
I honestly don't want to
Yeah.
go outside in the -20 and like take
No,
my car to the
100%.
pool.
Yeah.
But like it's finding those things that you enjoy that are also like for you. And like you might
Yeah.
not be waking up like excited to do it every day, but at the end, like I know that after I do a swim, I feel really good. So that's why I'm going
hmm
to do it. So
Yeah.
just find those practices. But what are your some recommendations like for the person in a 9 to 5 that doesn't have as much flexibility,
Yeah.
things they could implement? Like for me, the biggest things were my sleep, like just making more of a commitment to my sleep. And then eating breakfast was one of the biggest things when I was working a 9 to 5 that I had to be like, no, this is something I have to do. And waiting
Yeah.
to drink my coffee actually till after, because I found when I was drinking it first thing in the morning, it just like didn't set me off on the right foot. But I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what your thoughts are on like
Yeah.
a few
No.
things someone could implement in a more strict
hmm
routine.
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest thing I struggled with when I was doing a 9 to 5 was breakfast because it was so early in the
Yeah.
morning and I was more focused on like my outfit and my
Yeah.
makeup and like getting my bag ready than breakfast. So I would just literally grab like the thing that I had in my house, which was like a rice cake or just something that was not nutritious at all. And I would just eat on the go. And then when I got to work, I would be starving. So I would
Yeah.
like eat a lunch and then I would eat a second lunch and it was just all like horrible food. So I think maybe one thing that people could start doing is just like pre-planning like a meal. So obviously like you don't need to go into like this huge thing, but even just like boiling eggs at night
Yeah.
and just like
That's an easy
having
one.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so super like so easy to just grab and go. I actually started doing that like towards the end just so like at least I was eating eggs. Like, at
Yeah.
least I was eating something that was nutritious or you
Hmm.
can even like prep like a breakfast sandwich or something. Like you have to do it though
Yeah.
because
That's the
you want
thing.
to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like nobody is going to tell you to do it. Like and you have to dig in deep to like find the motivation to do that. But I think it's like the pre-planning is going to help you realize like wow, like I actually was not starving by like 10 a.m. because I actually set aside time to eat. So
Right.
maybe like I would say the night before trying to meal prep a little something. And also like a night routine is a big thing. This is something I'm
Totally.
still really working on. Like I have a great morning routine, but my night routine is like there's nothing. Like I sometimes I'm scrolling until 10:30, 11, like and I'm just like I know I shouldn't be scrolling, but I'm still scrolling. So
I
turn off the
know.
phone. You have to literally say to your head like get off the
It's the
phone.
self-discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like maybe setting up a night routine for yourself, but you don't need to like start with 100 things immediately.
Yeah.
Like maybe just, putting the phone down 30 minutes earlier. So let's say you get home at like 5 o'clock, you do whatever you want, and then you're like, okay, I really want to go to bed by 10:30 or 11. So it's like, okay, like at 10 o'clock, like we know nothing's gonna happen. We're not gonna miss out on anything. So it's just like, let's put the phone down and let's just try to get even an extra 30 minutes of sleep and then see how you feel. And then maybe you'll want more. And then also, like, maybe you can do something else that would set you up for your day in that
Mm-hmm.
nighttime routine. So even just like picking out your outfit, that's something that I would do. So I didn't have to spend an extra 5 minutes doing that in the
In the
morning.
morning, yeah,
Because your night routine like always correlates to your morning routine too. Like the
totally.
more you do at night, the less you have to do in the morning. And I think towards the end of my 9 to 5, I started realizing that more and more and more. So it was like, okay, like let me just set myself up for success so
Yeah,
that I don't need to have this crazy extensive morning routine. And then I think too, it's just like I said in the beginning, like you don't need to do a million things before you go to work. Like it's just not realistic. I mean, some people have very extensive morning routines and then go to their 9 to 5 and come home and, do something else, but maybe that works for them.
yeah,
But I think too, like realistically, most people don't do that. So I think just like even adding one thing at a time, like waking up and, even like, let's say you have a goal to like listen to a podcast in the morning or
hmm,
something like that, like listen to something motivational, like maybe like listening to it while you're doing your makeup or like maybe as soon as you wake up, like put the pot of water on and then go do your hair, like almost
yeah.
like habit stacking. Like that's
Yes,
what I've
yes,
been
yes. That helps
learning a
so
lot of.
much.
Yeah, so it's like making the most of your time, but also doing the things that you need to do in those habits. So it's like, okay, I'm not just going to wait for the water to boil and just sit there. Like, let me do something so that the two and two are going together.
Yeah, because you could just
Um,
sit there waiting, like scrolling on your phone.
of course,
Or
yeah,
yeah, like and
yeah,
it's obviously like that's what you're gonna want to do because you just woke up and you're like, oh, I just want to
yeah.
like take a minute. But yeah, I
Hmm.
think that like really helps for me. Like I couldn't really do this while I was in school because I honestly had no interest to read while I was in school because I'm already
Yeah,
reading so
yeah.
much at school. But this past week, just so I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm doing this forever. Just this past week, I've been reading like 30 minutes before bed. Honestly, some nights I don't even get 30 minutes because by the time I'm like a few pages in, I just like my eyes get so tired and then I
No,
just
same, same,
put the book down to
same.
sleep. But I honestly don't even remember falling asleep most nights, whereas when I'm
Hmm.
usually like scrolling on my phone or watching like a video or a movie right before bed, I'm like tossing and turning until I like eventually fall
Literally.
asleep.
Yes.
Whereas something about just reading a few pages, I just like knocks me out so
I'm the
fast.
same exact way. Like sometimes I like literally am going cross-eyed trying to
Yeah.
read and I'm like, you know
And I'm
what?
like,
I'm going
enough,
to stop.
enough.
And
I'll
then
read
I
it
fall
tomorrow.
asleep in like 2 seconds and
Yeah,
it's so nice. You don't have those anxious racing thoughts because your mind was like preoccupied with something that wasn't
exactly.
other people's lives. It was like a fictional thing or
Yes,
something.
exactly. Whereas when I'm like scrolling on social media, especially as a content creator, I feel like I cannot watch content as just entertainment because 99% of the time it stresses me out because I'm like,
100%.
oh, I should do a video like that. Or I like, oh, I just got this
Yes.
idea. Or wait,
Hmm.
like, should I be doing this? All of this stuff. So it's like I
Yeah.
can't find like pure entertainment a lot of t the time from it. And it feels like I'm like
Hmm.
doing research when I'm like scrolling.
Yes.
So,
You're preaching to the choir right now.
yeah,
Like I
I know
am
you
the
get it.
same.
Yeah, so I think just
I'm
like switching some stuff up and I think like trial and error, not putting like that pressure to like have the perfect routine and this and this and
hmm.
like it
Yeah,
can change day to day and sometimes you need like day-to-day change or else you like feel like you're just operating like as a robot every
literally.
day. So
Yep.
you have to
Hmm.
do what works for you and I
Yeah.
know for me like I operate best when I am super packed and busy because then by the end of the night I'm just so exhausted and like go right to
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah.
Whereas other people do like to have like hours of free time where they're not running from one thing to the other. So you just have to like
Yeah.
do what's right for you and not
Hmm.
compare that because like just because I love to do a million things in one day doesn't mean like someone else has to because
A
that's just how
hundred
I
percent.
function best. So yeah, I think there's like so much learning there and it was so great to like hear about all your progress with it and how you kind of got to like this routine and just even the transparency of your like I kind of got this morning routine locked down but I don't even have a night routine like I
Yeah.
love
No.
that because I think it really just shows, like sometimes we just have like certain things figured out and then we're working on the rest and
Yes.
that's totally
Yes.
okay. And I
Yep.
think so many of the times we see people online where they're like, this is everything I did. And it just almost seems like they weren't doing anything right, but then all of a sudden it's like, boom, now I'm doing everything
Hmm.
right. And it's like
Hmm.
there's gonna be process in that and it's not all going to be figured out all at the same time. So I appreciate your
Yeah.
authenticity with all of that.
No, of course. Yeah. And also, just another one last note with that is like people put their camera up and be their most productive and best selves. You have to realize that like
Yeah.
they're not going to be like spend a morning in my life and they're not going to do nothing. Like,
Yeah.
of course they're going to maybe plan that when they have a workout class in the morning, when they know they're going on a coffee
Yeah.
date with their friend. So it's like you have to take that in doses. Like that's probably not
Totally.
their morning routine every single day.
Yeah.
Like and it's like maybe they do have certain things that they do every single day, but that doesn't mean that you have to feel bad because yours doesn't look like theirs every single
Totally.
day.
Totally. And also like even day in my life videos, like I'm not going to film a day in my life when I have nothing to do that day.
100%,
Why
a
would I
hundred
be like
percent.
there? I'd be
We're
just
content creators. We plan our stuff
yeah.
out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Exactly. So I think that's such a good that's such a good point as well. And I think we see content with a different eye because we know that, but I think for so many other people,
Hmm.
they're like shocked when I mention things like that because they're like, "Wait, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, it's
Yeah.
production, it's entertainment like at the end of the
A
day."
hundred percent. You're always
Um,
going to put your best foot forward. You want
yeah.
people to react in the best way. So,
Yeah.
of course, you're going to make your life look amazing. I mean,
Exactly.
that's just what entertainment is for. People aren't going to want to watch you sit in bed all day. They're going to want
Yeah.
to watch you, have a productive day. But that doesn't mean that there's not people in the world that sit in bed all day.
Yeah.
Like that is just what happens.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Exactly. Well, Haley, thank you so much for your time today and coming on the
Yeah,
podcast. I had such a
of
good conversation with
course.
you, and I love when things like this just like click. And I
No,
feel like
I
I've known
know. It
you.
was so nice talking to you. Like, seriously, I feel like we definitely need to talk more. Like, just
Yes,
like talking with you, I feel like we bounce off each other. Like,
totally.
it's such a, like, I loved hearing about your story as well. And, like, obviously, I'm going to continue watching your content and I love your stuff. So, thank
Yeah,
you
right back
for
at you.
also having
Honestly,
me.
one of my goals this year was to like make more friends in the content world because
Mm-hmm.
this job is so isolating sometimes
Oh,
and it just
100%.
like sometimes is hard to find like authentic people. So I'm so glad like this worked out and I think like
Yes,
every like interaction we have with people like happens for a reason. So yeah, I'm grateful
100%.
for you coming across my page and like us like,
Yes.
being mutuals for so long and now actually having a conversation. But yeah, that is it for this episode. Thank you for coming on and I'll have
Thank you.
all of Haley's socials down below so you guys can go check out her content because she makes really great stuff. But
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
amazing. All right, so that is it for this episode of Loud Talk. Hope you guys loved hearing from Haley on the pod. I'll have all of her socials linked down below in the description. And I'd also love to hear from you what your thoughts are on this episode, these topics, who you want me to bring on to Loud Talk next. I really want your input. But that is it for this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for popping in. And if you're listening on audio, Spotify, Apple, any stream platform, if you're commuting, if you're just getting your day started or at night, thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me that you're taking the time to get loud with me on Loud Talk with Lavi. So love you guys. You'll hear from me in the next episode next Sunday at 7 a.m. MST. And remember, tell yourself something you love about your skin today. Remember that you are in control of your confidence and you have the power to really elevate those parts of your life. I love you so much. And you'll hear from me in the next episode of Loud Talk with Lavi. Bye, everyone.